Okay, so we're 4 possessions in and we're still at 0-0. Damn, we sorry as hell. But I hope the insights are still informative, and honestly, I tend to learn the most from the mistakes in non-scoring possessions. And like many shorter dabblers, I would say my biggest weakness has and always will be defense, simply due to size. However, I really feel like this possession in particular was truly a masterclass on how to defend a taller, stronger player. So let's duck around and find out how I was able to pull this off, in spite of being almost half a foot shorter and with like 20 less pounds of muscle. Key number 1. It may be unorthodox, but take a look at what I'm doing while Jay is sizing me up. My defensive stance is super wide, and I'm constantly shifting my weight back and forth, and I honestly credit this tactic as the primary reason why, to this day, I have never once been dropped. Here's another hot take, but I'm a firm believer that 90% of plays that result in the defender touching earth really have more to do with poor defensive decision making as opposed to the offensive player's move. For the most part, almost every drop that I've seen all have one thing in common, and that's typically the defender's weight distribution being relatively static. So whether you're constantly shifting your weight or bouncing on the balls of your feet, having an active lower body on defense will keep your central nervous system primed and ready to react in a strong and safe manner. Now, Jay does a great job at jabbing at the perfect moment when most of my weight is on my top foot, which makes me jump back as I react to his first move. But because my lower body was ready, even though he got me with that jab and cross, I was able to quickly and safely recover, open up my hips, and then read his next move. Which brings me to key number 2, close the gap. It doesn't matter how great of a hooper you are. Getting beat on defense is just an inevitable part of the game. But anytime you do get got, you should always try to be the first to close the gap and create contact, because that's exactly what any good offensive player is going to try and do. So that's exactly what I do, which allows me to beat Jay to the spot in order to prevent a wide open layup. Fortunately for me, Jay picked up his dribble, so now the only thing that can unfold is essentially the basketball version of a ground and pound. Jay does a great job at utilizing immaculate footwork off his pivot, stringing together well-timed shot fakes and great body contact to find some room to get a shot off. So, as a shorter dabbler, if you don't want to get tossed around like a ragdoll in the paint, then remember,
Poor hippies, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Most dabblers make the mistake of playing defense primarily with their hands, which most often leads to an ill-timed reach, resulting in a bucket. You'll find more success by defending primarily with your core and your hips, while making sure your knees are over your toes. Notice how every time Jay bumps me to get some space, I'm taking those hits with my core and eating up any gaps with my hips. And the only reason I ain't getting rocked and thrown on my ass is because I'm front loading most of my weight over my toes in expectation of being knocked backwards. This way, anytime I do have to take a big hit, I'm already in a strong, explosive stance that allows me to immediately jump right back at him, which leads me to the final key for this play. Look at this shit. It's not even fair. There's no world in which I'm blocking that, which is completely fine because people underestimate the power of a hand in the face. If he can't reach the ball, obstruct his view. And even after all that, he still almost made it. He left it a little short, which I have to assume is from the fatigue, which is why it's so important to do everything you can to make it difficult for them on the ground, because once they're in the air, it's out of your hands.